Early June 1967. The six-day war in the Middle East between Israel, Egypt, Jordan, and Syria is underway. A spy ship, very lightly armed, but bristling with antennae, steams into the Mediterranean to eavesdrop on the conflict. It is patrolling in international waters off the Egyptian coast. At 2 in the afternoon, on June the 8th, with the war reaching its climax, Israeli jets and motor torpedo boats launch an unprovoked attack on the ship. They drop napalm and strafe its decks with rockets, cannon fire, and armor-piercing rounds before trying to sink it with torpedoes.
We had no way to defend ourselves, and we're just slaughtered.
And they shot at life rafts that were put into the water, and they shot the ones that were still on board the ship.
Bullet holes, shell holes everywhere, blood. The forecastle, the front part of the ship, was just red with blood.
Throughout the attack, the ship flies the Stars and Stripes, the flag of Israel's closest ally, the United States of America. Its name, the USS Liberty, is freshly painted on its stern, and the bow carries the distinctive numbers of an American naval vessel.
Out of a crew of just under 300, there were 34 killed and 172 injured in varying degrees to life-threatening, life-debilitating injuries. So that was more than 2/3 of the crew.
This audio tape, which has never been broadcast before, was recorded in real time by the Israeli military during the assault. The woman's voice in the background is counting down the seconds. It proves that Israeli commanders knew all along that they were attacking an American ship. For the first time, this and other evidence allows us to reveal the true story of what happened that day and what came after. When a deadly assault by one ally on another was covered up and an American president was manipulated by the secret agents of a foreign power, events that have shaped US-Israeli relations ever since. Early June 19.
Hello, Internet. How are we this evening? So happy to see so many of you in the chat already. B Sizza, Wally World. Let's see. Oh, World Peace Movement. How you doing, Darren? RGS, Casey Martin. I see everybody. I am not going to be interacting with the chat too much because I want to keep this conversation flowing with myself and Phil. Tonight, we are joined. This is probably the most important episode I've done, you guys. This is something every American should know about. This is something everybody in the world should know about, especially if you're in the West. And I didn't know about it. And if, you think if I know about something, everybody knows about something. It's not the case. There's so many people that have never heard of the attack on the USS Liberty. And it's something that we need to talk about. It's a controversial topic, but it's potentially one of the most important topics in American history in the recent decades. So we're going to get into all the excruciating details. And tonight, here to join me is Phil Turney, survivor of the USS Liberty and Bronze Star recipient. So without further ado, Phil, how are we doing tonight?
Well, good afternoon, Michael, and thank you kindly for having me on. And by the way, I admired your wall art. I think it's just beautiful.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. That's my granddad up there, and yeah, he was a Army infantry guy in World War II. And yeah, this is his flag back here too. So yeah, appreciate that.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. I think it's wonderful.
Well, I think he would have liked you. So,
Well-
well, I mean, there's so much I want to talk to you about, but I sort of want to. I mean, the thing that I found the most ironic is that that you also served on the Maddox. That was, I mean, fairly interesting. I mean, people may not be familiar with the ship, what the Maddox was. What is the significance of the Maddox, if you don't mind telling the audience?
Well, the Liberty was a spy ship, and the Maddox was a destroyer,
Right.
DD 731. At the time I got aboard, it was in Long Beach, California.
But what happened with why is the Maddox such a famous ship?
Oh, I never thought you'd ask. The Maddox was involved in the quote unquote Gulf of Tonkin incident that eventually ended up killing 58,258 American souls for nothing over a made up war.
Right. So I actually have something I want to pull up here. Yeah. So the Gulf of Tonkin incident, if you guys aren't familiar, it was in August of 1964. The American U.S. destroyer USS Maddox was stationed in the Gulf of Tonkin off the coast of Vietnam. That month, the ship was involved in two events collectively referred to as the Gulf of Tonkin incident, which changed the course of modern-day history in ways that will reverberate to this day. This is an article from ATI. So on August 2nd, it was attacked by North Vietnamese torpedo boats. And then 2 days later, on August 4th, the Johnson administration claimed that it had been attacked again. So, and from my understanding, that first attack was a single bullet hole in the ship, from my understanding. And they introduced the Gulf of Tonkin resolution. And after the second attack, the U.S. passed the Gulf of Tonkin resolution almost unanimously, allowing the federal government to take all necessary measures to protect U.S. forces in Vietnam. It was tantamount to a declaration of war, but it was based on a lie. After 2 decades of public skepticism, the government secrecy, the truth finally came out in the early 2000s. Near 200 documents were declassified and released by the National Security Agency. So the reason I sort of wanted to start off talking about that is because, I mean, I draw a lot of correlations. Well, I mean, first of all, FDR was the president when that was going on, and it was used as precedent to get us into the Vietnam War. Fast forward a few years, and we've got your story. So why don't we start off with from the very beginning? I mean, what made you get into the Navy?
Well, I was a young kid. I dropped out of school at a very early age, 7th grade, to go to work for my dad to help our family. And I did that until I turned 17. And I wanted to get out of the lifestyle I was in and be my own man, so to speak, at 17. So I had 2 older brothers in the Navy, and I said, well, I know why they joined. I just wanted to get out of the situation I was in. So I joined, and I was very proudly accepted into the United States Navy. I went to boot camp in San Diego, California, February the 6th, 1964. And it's the best thing I ever did. The discipline, the honor of serving my country was simply overwhelming for me. I love boot camp. I love the structure.
Well, that's something you don't hear every day.
No, I did, Michael. It was a feeling of accomplishment, and I wanted to be the best. in boot camp, I was not the smartest kid in the block, I tell you that. But I was dedicated, and I went on to become the outstanding recruit of our troop. Uh, and they, believe it or not, Michael, they made me educational petty officer.
Yeah, I remember you talking about that on Jocko.
I mean, how can anybody do that, man?
Maybe
No,
you're not giving yourself enough credit.
I don't know about that, but yeah, thanks, thanks for giving that kudo. But no, it's just it's a sense of pride. My brothers did it. I wanted to, and I spent 2 tours in Vietnam on the USS Mauna Kea AE-22 ammunition ship, and we deliver ammo over there and go into port in Japan, Yokosuka, and places like that for rest and relaxation. If you'd like to drink and carouse with beautiful Japanese women, that was the best place to be.
No, don't get yourself in trouble here, Phil.
Oh no, not now.
So you were already serving for quite a while before you got on to the Liberty.
I was. We did 2 6-month tours on the Mauna Kea. I did, and then I got transferred to the USS Liberty on the East Coast. So that was fine with me.
You were excited about it at first, weren't you? Because it was a brand new
oh.
ship. And
Oh yeah, absolutely. And yeah, I said fine. That's great. That's great for me. And it was a beautiful ship. It was an old World War II Victory Hull ship, but they converted it into probably the finest spy ship in the world. We were the 5th class in that category. And thinking about Michael, Liberty, serving on Liberty. I mean, that thrilled me. I thought, whoa, this is about as good as it gets.
well, and that's why it's I mean, without and it quite literally was an attack on Liberty, both figuratively and literally. They couldn't have been named a more perfect name. But so you guys know a Victory Hull class cargo ship is 450 feet long by 62 feet wide, I believe, at its widest. And it's approximately just under 11,000 tons. So it's not a small ship. It's not a small ship that they claimed they mistook the Egyptian ship for, right?
No, not at all. It was, well, they claimed it to be the El Quasir, and
Right.
I'm sure we'll get into that, but we were 11,500 tons, something in that area. But no, it was a great big cargo ship, man. This thing saw time in Korea, and then they mothballed it, and also in World War II. So it was the most identifiable ship in the world, and this is verified by former chairman of Joint Chiefs of Staff, and my dear friend, who has passed on, Admiral Thomas Hinman Moore. He said our ship was probably the ugliest ship in the world, with giant tentacles coming out like a great big giant lobster, as he described it. And he never accepted Israel's excuse of what happened. So that's been pretty much the norm, Mike.
Yeah, I mean, even without all of the antennas that it was equipped with, I mean, it was clearly an American ship. And even if you couldn't see the markings on it, even if you couldn't see the big giant flag flying, you could tell this is the most easy ship to identify. There's no way they could have mistaken it. Before we get into all that, so where were you deployed when you first got onto the Liberty? What was your job and where were you guys sent to initially?
Well, when I first got aboard the Liberty, on on the second cruise, I was in the engineering department. I worked as a machinist mate, and it was very hot down there, and I wanted to get into something a little bit topside. So it was a position that came open in damage control or ship fitter shop. So I applied for it, and I got it, and it was hands-on doing welding and plumbing and potable water and things like that, which I really enjoyed. I liked doing it, and so that's kind of what I did there.
But so on this ship, you had you guys, the Navy guys on the ship, but then you also had a bunch of CIA guys on there, right?
Yeah, we did, Mike. We had CIA, NSA personnel, and who else knows? I mean, these guys are secret, and we weren't allowed to even talk to them.
Yeah, one of the guys that was members of the CIA actually had higher clearance than McGonagall, correct?
Oh yeah, McGonagall didn't have a clearance, and
Right.
Commander David Lewis, he was in charge of the research compartment and everything aboard the ship. He was third in command in the hierarchy of the vessel. McGonagall, and then you had Armstrong, and then uh, uh, him. So he was to me, a beacon of hope of what he's done for us. And Commander Lewis is a very straightforward guy, Old Navy. He retired as commander, but he was Old Navy and a good man, and God bless his soul.
So that's an interesting dynamic, just with the whole CIA. It's like you guys had two different crews on there, and I guess you guys didn't get along that well in the beginning.
We didn't get along because they wouldn't let us.
Well, didn't they tell you guys that they had like a bowling alley and
Oh
pool
yeah,
tables down there?
yeah, a bowling alley, and a swimming pool. Jesus.
You guys believed them?
Well, yeah, we believed them.
Damn
I kind of
spooks.
did. I mean, Jesus. I mean, they made and air conditioning. They had all kinds of air conditioning, and oh, Jesus, it's a life at Riley.
Oh, that's funny. All right, so you guys were sort of a unique vessel because you didn't. I didn't serve, so I don't know the terminology, but you didn't go around with other ships. You guys were a solo ship out there. You didn't have any protection whatsoever.
We never did on every cruise I was on to Africa. I went there twice. Well, actually 3 times. The last time, we never had a escort of any kind, and never thought we needed one. I mean, I guess the Navy didn't either. But our job in engineering was to take care of the spies. Wherever they wanted to go, we got them there. And but it was just one of those deals, We just went up and down the coast and pulled into port, had fun, go back out to sea, and do the same thing over again. And 2 or 3 weeks after that, in another port. But never had any problems until the last cruise.
Right. So basically the Navy the mission of this boat was for these CIA guys to be collecting information via these big elaborate communications antennas they had installed, correct?
Oh yeah, absolutely. The sophistication of that ship in 1967, Michael, was extraordinary. They had huge computers, which I saw the computers. They were in a separate area. They're very well air conditioned. They're great, big, huge computers. And all air conditioned, everything like that. But we went where they had to go, and what they were doing, I had no idea. Of course, I knew it was a spy ship, but I don't know who they're spying on, and they never say anything else, and we never asked.
Well, it's I was going to talk about it later, but I mean, two of the theories of why the ship was attacked initially, and I'm jumping ahead a little bit. We'll backtrack after, but two of the theories. I mean, the most I guess talked about one is that they were trying to sink the ship. Everybody on board dies. Nobody can say a word about it, and then they blame it on Egypt to drag us into war. That's one of the ideas put forth. But another one that people talk about are that the CIA guys possibly intercepted some very crucial intel that Israel really didn't want them having, and that's why they had to sink the ship. Have you heard that theory?
I haven't. I think it's bullshit.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Uh, no matter what we were there for, we were set up from the get go, probably a year even before that.
Okay.
Uh,
Okay.
so, no, anything we had aboard that ship did not have any bearing on what we were picking up or didn't pick up. It was all a setup deal.
Okay. Okay. Gotcha. All right. Well, we'll get into that more in a little bit. So, your first, we'll get into that very shortly. First, you're deployed to Africa, and then you guys were told that you're getting sent out to the Eastern Mediterranean. Hey, where there happens to be a war going on right then. And from my understanding, McGonagall actually requested to have an escort. Is that correct?
You're absolutely right. And also did Commander Lewis, David Lewis. He also requested an escort, and he was denied. So, hey, listen, man, we're going into a war zone. They say, hey, don't worry about it, guys. You're fine. You got an American flag flying. Nobody's going to touch you.
They were wrong.
Yeah.
Or they knew they were wrong. Okay. So did he request anything specific? And what happened when they turned him down? I mean, is it just that's kind of that? You guys got to follow orders?
That's it. When you get turned down, you don't need it because you fly an American flag. You're clearly marked. You have no reason for an escort.
Did he ask for like extra weaponry? Because didn't you guys just have like 350 cals? Isn't that basically all you had on the boat?
Well, we had 250 calibers port and starboard on the forecastle, and midships we had 250 calibers that were taken out on the first pass.
Right. So did he ask for any additional weapons or anything before us after he was turned down for the escort?
Yeah, our only weapon would have been a destroyer or a destroyer escort or something, because
Gotcha.
I mean we had no capability of fighting back. So our only escort would have been the United States government helping us out with the ship, which they didn't do.
Okay. All right. So you guys get denied your escort and you start sailing out to the Eastern Mediterranean. And when you first get out there, I mean, it was pretty calm when you first, well, not calm. I mean, you guys could see all the stuff happening on land, but for the first few days, things were normal, right?
Well, yeah, normal as they could be. We're in a war zone. We could see the bombs and everything, hitting the shore, but normal is a hard thing to describe here, Michael. I'll tell you why. We're in a war zone. We don't know what's going to happen, and then we have the Israeli recon planes looking over us, and we thought, well, everything's cool, but we were afraid the Arabs were going to come get us. We didn't know what was going on. We didn't know that the Israeli Air Force had already taken out their competition, so to speak, even before we got there.
Right. So they had already captured the Sinai Peninsula at this point, right?
Yeah, well, yeah. It's a land grab. That's what it was. It was a total land grab.
All right, and when you said the surveillance planes, those were the flying boxcars, the C-119s.
Yes. They also had smaller aircraft coming into the picture.
Gotcha. But those were clearly marked with Israeli, the Star of David.
Absolutely, all of them were.
Okay.
All of them. That's why we felt comfortable, Michael.
Okay. All right. So you guys are out there. You start seeing plane. Were they flying over you guys from the beginning? And oh, I'm sorry. Didn't you say they were equipped with cameras as well?
Yes, they had their doors open, looking at us, and I don't know if it was all pictures or cameras. It really didn't. I don't think it really made a difference because they overflew us so many times. They knew that ship probably better than I did.
So yeah. So you guys. I mean, they were flying over you guys from the get go, right? So a couple of days.
Well, it started on the 7th and ended on the 8th.
Oh, okay. All right. So first you got friendly planes flying overhead, and then all hell breaks loose. So what? Let's talk about the first wave of the attack. What were those? Those weren't the Mysteers, right? Those were black unmarked planes.
They were Mirage jets and Mysteers. They were both blacked out. We had no height. I mean, not a clue who's attacking us, but we certainly didn't think it was going to be our ally Israel. By the way, which we had Star Davids all through the ship, hoping Israel would win because they're our ally. And listen, this is what we were fed. This is how things happen in the world. You get fed this, and you're supposed to believe it. Hell, I was a 20-year-old kid then. Of course, I believed it. But they weren't our ally. Unmarked planes, Mirage jets shooting at us, rockets and cannons, killing people on deck. The initial attack, I mean, I was on deck all the time, and I saw a lot of things. But I didn't expect our allies would do it. I thought it was the Arabs were doing it because the planes were unmarked. So it was quite a shock.
And Phil, I know this is reliving and replaying all the details of the actual event. I know it's got to be tough. So if there's anything that you want to skip over or not get too into detail about, please, I have no problem skipping it over. But I would like you to, if you don't mind, just describing sort of what that first wave looked like how many planes, the duration of time, what type of weaponry were they using.
Well, yeah, but Michael, yeah, it's hard to talk about it, but that's why I'm here for, is to talk about it. And how many planes? It said it was 30 sorties of our ship. 30 sorties by unmarked jet aircraft. They took out every tuning antenna on that ship. They took out all of our machine guns, 2 midships and 2 forward on the forecastle. They shot holes, rockets into every watertight door we had aboard that ship. In anticipation of the Navy coming back in their torpedo boats sinking us, where all watertight doors are destroyed, we're going to go down quicker than 10 rocks. So it was a feeling of just being able to stay alive, to be honest with you, Michael. And yeah, it was a shock, but uh, we lived through it by the grace of God.
So I imagine there was no time while this attack's happening to be sort of thinking, "Hey, those are unmarked, blacked out planes. That's kind of strange." Is that strange? I mean, if it wasn't Israel, would it have been? If that, I mean, obviously the attack itself is strange, but is it strange for planes to be unmarked in warfare?
Absolutely, it's a crime. It's against the Geneva Conventions, as far as I know, and that's what I've been told. It's a crime. You can't attack. You know, it's just a ghost. It's a ghost attacking you, where nobody can fess up to who did it. So
And I
yeah,
mean,
it's not good.
so I mean, what stands out to me about the blacked out planes, the unmarked planes for the first wave of the attack, and then the rest of the attack, they're actually marked with the Israeli markings, is they, to me, that gives the thought process of, hey, this first wave, there's still a chance that they could get some communications out. And if we don't take out their communications fast enough, if they can identify our ship, then they're going to be able to say who's doing this. So to me, the planes being blacked out signifies that they very clearly were first thing was take out the comms, take out your ability to fight back. And then after that, it's like, okay, now it doesn't matter if they know who's attacking them, so we can use our whole arsenal. Does that sound about right?
You nailed it. That's what happened, and taking out our arsenal really was a BB gun
Right.
uh, on each mount comparing to jet fighters, but it didn't make any difference. They were all taken out in first pass. And two of my friends on the starboard gun mount, David Skolak and the gunnerman Thompson, I just left that gun mount. Probably a minute, 30 seconds, I don't know, but I just left the gun mount. And I told these guys, I mean, I would hate to be here in this position if anything ever happened. And poor Skolak, I called him up there because the sound-powered phones weren't working. We just had a general quarters drill, and it was my duty as on-scene leader or assistant on-scene leaders was make sure everything worked. So I called him up there to get the sound-powered phones working because they didn't work as general quarters. I was up there, I don't know, a few minutes talking to him, and like I said, told him I'd hate to be up here in case we got attacked or whatever, because I mean, you could see everything going off on the coast. It was not pleasant. And
Right. And you guys had so you guys had Bob Eisenberg. So Bob Eisenberg, he picked up some communications saying that I believe he said in his own words, like somebody's going to get hit or something along those lines, right?
yes, that was related to Larry Bowen.
Yeah.
Bob Eisenberg. In fact, he was killed during the torpedo attack.
And and Bob Eisenberg spoke Hebrew, right? He was a Jew.
Yeah, he was Jew. But yeah, he told Larry Bowen that there's a target, and they didn't specify which target, but there was a target, and no one knew the target was us.
And when that information got to McGonigal, is that when he called the general quarters drill?
No, this is before that. It was before that attack when Eisenberg told that to Larry Bowen, and soon after that, the attack started.
Gotcha. For people that don't know, that didn't serve, like I mean, I didn't know until you explained it. But what is a general quarters drill?
General quarters is preparation for war or fire. You have fires on board ship. General quarters could be man overboard, fire, or whatever, In fact, we had a chemical drill that day. Like we were just before the attack, a chemical drill to wash down the ship. In fact, I was in an impregnated suit on a hot deck in the middle, off the coast of the Sinai. It was so hot in that suit, I thought I was going to pass out. And finally, general quarters was over, and I got that thing off, stowed my gear. That's when I went up to the starboard gun mount to see about the sound-powered phones.
Okay. They took out all the communications antennas except one. And to me, this is another thing that is very strange. Did they have the ability, that one antenna not being taken out and it being offline, that says something to me. I mean, did they have the capability of saying, like, don't worry about that antenna, it's not working anyway?
No, that wasn't it. They honed in on the tuning antennas that were in service. The one antenna that was taken out of service by Terry Halbardier, he took it offline. There was no transmitting going on in that because it wasn't functioning properly. That's why they didn't hit that. But every other tuning antenna on that ship was hit within 3 seconds of the initial attack. The 4 gun mounts were all gone.
So, but I guess my question is, did they know that they didn't attack that? Because that's the antenna that ultimately got out the message, right? Hey, we're under attack, because he ran the coax cable to it and got the antenna working. Did they not take that out because it wasn't a concern to them, because it wasn't working?
That isn't it. It wasn't a concern because it wasn't radiating.
That's my question. Okay, so they had a way of detecting that.
Yeah, but that one wasn't radiating, so they didn't hit it.
So I'm a sound and communications guy. So to me, I mean, sort of, if there's you guys are all heroes, but I mean, really the hero of the story, even though ships didn't come to get you guys back, that if that message doesn't get out, I mean, this is a whole different scenario, right?
It is, but Michael, think about this. The message did get out. Rockstar, we're under attack by unknown jet aircraft to the Sixth Fleet. And I've said this on other programs, who went as far as Vietnam. They heard the plea for help. Captain Tully sent aircraft from the Saratoga. They were immediately recalled even before they hit the horizon to return to base. Do not help Liberty. This happened several times, not even from America, but the Saratoga. The aircraft were recalled by Washington. So, Terry did a great job by getting the message out, but it wouldn't have made any difference anyway.
And the reason you know that it was recalled by Washington is because of that type of antenna. What was it? The name? The Trescom antenna. So that went straight to the Department of Defense. Is that correct?
Well, Trescom was already done. They already took care of that.
Oh, okay.
That's the one that bounced off the moon, as far as I know.
Gotcha.
They could get message back to NSA within 3 seconds. That's how sophisticated the spy ship was. But this antenna was just a round tubular antenna with the antenna on it.
It's basic.
Yeah, basic. They didn't hit it because it wasn't radiating.
Yeah. So, I mean, geez, that is such them taking that antenna offline. And then when he ran the coax out there, was this during the first wave of attack, the second wave when they were dropping napalm? Like, when approximately in the attack did that whole thing happen?
Well, I can't specifically say what time that was, but it was during the air attack.
So he had giant balls, just giant balls. I didn't have to physically climb up the antenna.
No, to my recollection, it was a ground antenna.
Oh, okay.
It was on the I think the starboard side. Could have been on the port. I don't know. But he ran the coaxial to it and got it working and sent out the message. And that was my whole point. I mean, gallantly he tried to save our ship, which he did in many ways, because the whole world heard it.
Right.
We were under attack. But my point being about Johnson and McNamara, they could give a shit. They knew what was coming to us. They knew what they set us up. So that's why they recalled the aircraft and left us out there to die anyway. They didn't care. They just wanted us at the bottom of the ocean. So did Israel.
Yeah, this whole situation's insane. Okay, so they take out your antennas, they take out your guns, and then they start dropping napalm. So what did, without going into too much gruesome detail, obviously, what did that look like? How long was the duration of that portion of the attack?
Well, I can't tell me how many canisters they dropped. At least several. The whole
And what is napalm?
Well, it's a jelly gasoline. It just burns and burns. I mean, napalm is bad shit. They used it in Vietnam, and no, it was in fact it was a criminal act on the behalf of Israel to use that type of weapon on us. War crime. Many war crimes that day committed by Israel, and they got by with it.
Right, like it was when the guys put the rafts in the water and they shot up the rafts and took one of the boats hostage. That was some sort of 99 USMC, I believe. Is it some sort of violation?
Yeah, well, it's a violation of human life to shoot up life rafts we were trying to put our most seriously wounded in because we thought we were going to sink. The old man says, "Hey, prepare to abandon ship," and we had 3 life rafts out of a crew for 294. So they destroyed all of them except 3, and they shot 2 out of the water and took 1 aboard the boat as a trophy of their kill. And I've said this over and over again because I know it like a book, but it's the truth. And the truth will set you free. It has to. Our republic depends on the sacred oath of our country. The foundation of our country is the Constitution, the Bill of Rights. And I think we've lost our way even more now than ever in our lifetime.
I tend to agree with that last statement. Okay, so they shoot up the boat, take out your watertight doors, they take out your communications antennas, they take out your weapons. Now they're going after everybody that they can see on deck with napalm. That attack ends, and there's a gap in time before you guys saw the torpedo boats. And what did that look like? When you first saw the torpedo boats, what were your first thoughts?
Joy.
Absolutely,
because we thought we still didn't know it was attacking us.
Oh, I thought the planes that were dropping the napalm had Israel markings on them.
No, they were all blackened out. They're all we didn't know who was attacking us.
Oh, okay.
No, we thought the Israelis would come to help us. They weren't.
Okay. So that's when you guys realized that it was Israel actually attacking you guys, when you saw the torpedo boats fire on you.
When we saw the Star of David on there, we knew we'd just been betrayed terribly bad. And that was a hard one to swallow, believe me.
And you guys could see the torpedo go into the water.
There were 5 of them. I saw two go aft. I don't know where the other two went. Probably forward. They had to be because I saw two go aft, and one hit us almost dead center in the communication spaces where it killed or blew to bits 25 of America's finest spies, CIA and NSA spies, instantly gone.
And the only reason that torpedo didn't take out the entire ship is because it hit some sort of I-beam, right?
That's what they say. It hit I-beam and it exploded somewhat prematurely. If you'll see the hole on the ship, it starts a big push into the ship, and then the bottom, it blew it back and in. But I'll tell you what, this is an old World War II ship. The bulkheads on that ship, walls, they look like balloons on either side. So, only by the grace of God, we didn't sink. But it was a moment that I knew a lot of men were killed. I didn't know how many, or if we were going to sink or not, but I was terribly sad at that moment.
And I mean, I can't imagine the things that were going through your head. You guys were pretty much thinking we're going down at that point, right?
Yeah, I was just fish in a barrel, Mike. You know, we're going down the drain.
How the hell did those other torpedoes miss? And is there any chance that there was somebody aboard those torpedo boats that were like, we can't do this, and they missed on purpose? I like to think maybe there was somebody over there that missed intentionally.
Well, I don't believe in fairy dust. No.
So they're just incompetent. They just suck.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. I mean, they'd be scratching their heads. I mean, the whole mighty IDF, what they did do was in 2 hours. And they couldn't sink that ship.
A defenseless ship.
Yeah. I mean, they got to be scratching their heads then and now. You know, they had every opportunity to put us on the bottom, even when the helicopters come over to finish us off. That was their intention.
So
go ahead.
Oh no, keep going.
No, I was just saying they were going to ladder down and rope down and kill us all. I mean, we were defensive. We had nothing to defend ourselves.
When you guys saw the helicopters coming and you thought you were going to be boarded at that point. So you guys start going to try and get what almost useless weapons you guys had in a locker. Wasn't it just some shotguns and maybe a couple rifles?
Yeah, there was some small arms there, you know, shotgun and some M1s and things like that. But we couldn't get into the small arms locker because we didn't have the key and the gunnerman. I just left him and Skolak were blown to bits in the starboard gun mount. So, no, I mean, we were defenseless. I've said this over and over again. All we had was our will and our wits to stay alive and save each other. It was, listen, this ship came together. And we really didn't know the CTs. They didn't know us. But boy, did that ship come together as one whole of humanity helping each other. That's the only way I can explain it. Because, Michael, that whole mess decks and beyond that were full of broken, wounded bodies bleeding and asking for help.
And
dying right there.
And your guys' sick bay was basic as hell. Like, it could only handle like 3 people at the time. And I mean, you
Yeah,
guys didn't even have like local anesthetic, right?
no, it's very basic. I think they had 4 bunks in there, tops and a table. But yeah, it was very basic. We had Doc Kiefer, which is American hero, my hero, for saving so many lives, and several medics aboard the ship. But it was it was a moment on reflection of yourself, your soul, and how do you want to live, and why are you doing this. But for me, and I think everybody else aboard that ship, it was self-preservation. Everybody wants to live. They say death all around them, but you still want to live, and you still want to help your shipmates. So you do the best you can. And when the torpedo hit, I was below decks, and I told a friend of mine, Rick Ametti, and I think we both agreed on this. I will not abandon ship. I will go down with the ship rather than be machine gunned in the water by the Israelis.
And you guys had a lot of injured men, some of which you knew weren't going to make it, correct? And you had to talk with them in their final moments, right?
Yeah, that's true, Michael. It was a moment that sticks with you forever. Uh, Gary Blanchard was on the table. Doc was operating on him, and uh, his feet were hot. And he asked me to pull off his socks, and I rubbed his feet, tried to give him circulation and everything. And then he looked at me and he says, you think I'm going to live? And I said, no, I don't think you are. But I regret that. But in one way, I don't, because I wasn't lying to him. I was giving him my God's honest truth, what I thought, because he was hit and he was hit bad. Doc cut him open. That moment, he was dead. He sewed him up with a few stitches, and we went on to the next one. So that went on most of the night until the next day.
And that whole night, you're sitting there wondering, because I mean, you're not getting any communications back, so you're wondering, where the hell is our backup? Where the hell are the other ships coming to save us? Right?
Oh, absolutely. Here we are, the United States Navy, a flagged American ship, needing help from our fellow Americans. And we've denied that. I don't blame the Navy for it. I blame the people in command. Johnson, McNamara, Admiral McCain, and his flunkies for that. 17 hours, when help is only 40 minutes away, they leave us out there to die. These people are suffering, man. We had very limited painkillers or anything like that aboard ship for these men.
And you guys are 18, 19, 20 years old at the time, right?
Yeah, well, I was 20 at the time, and there could have been a couple guys on there, 19, 18, I'm not sure, but it went all the way up to 40 years old. And at 40 years old, well, you're 40 years old.
Yeah.
It's not a good time to die.
No.
And that's what they did. They were massacred and died by the Zionist state of Israel with the full blessing of the United States government.
So that's why I sort of started this interview off through the lens of the Gulf of Tonkin, because Johnson was president when that happened. And the attack on the Maddox, the alleged attack that never happened, the second attack at least, that they used as precedent to go into Vietnam and start that entire war. To me, this is, I mean, if this was set up, you know, not only Israel doing this on purpose, but in coordination with our government and with the knowledge of Johnson, then this is the same playbook. This is the same exact thing. If they're using it as a false flag attack to go into the 6-day war for whatever reason. I mean, is that?
Well, it's well that's it. That's it. But you know, Michael, there's no if to it. There's no if to any of this. Maddox or USS Liberty or USS Pueblo. This was all caused to happen. It didn't happen by circumstance. This was all caused to happen. So we survived, to tell the truth, and we get labeled Jew haters and Nazis and liars, anti-Semitic pigs, because we're telling the truth. We didn't kill anybody. Israel did all the killing, and we get labeled. Our own government could give a damn about us. They could give a shit. But we do. We love this country. Listen, our republic is in big trouble now, but the USS Liberty should open many eyes, most eyes in this country and around the world, how governments treat human beings, be it in the military or not.
So on October 7th, I had never even heard of the USS Liberty. I didn't know anything about this incident. And my first reaction to October 7th and hearing about it was, wait, when I found out that it took them 6 hours to respond, and then just the way they're explaining everything that happened, one of the first things that I put out was babies in incubators vibes. That was remember how the whole Iraq war thing, it's talking about they were killing babies in incubators. That was the propaganda message that I was getting when they were talking about it. And then when I found out that there was a 6-hour delay for them to respond, I was like, wait a minute, this is Mossad. This isn't some podunk, third world intelligence agency. This is the most intelligent intelligence agency on earth, and Gaza's right there. And you don't just hop on one of these paraglider things and know how to use it. These guys had to have been practicing for weeks leading up to it. Egypt warned them about it. CNN and some other news anchors were actually embedded within Hamas during the attack. They were with them documenting it during the attack. How did everyone in the world seem to know this attack was going to happen except for the Israeli intelligence agencies? And and if you ask that question and you think and you come to the conclusion that they allowed the attack to happen, then that means that they were willing to sacrifice their own people. And when you look at the USS Liberty with what happened, and this isn't that long ago. People think, 1967, it was ages ago. Well, I mean, I'm talking to you, you're a survivor from the ship, and the behavior is the same. The behavior from the government, the willingness to, you are our greatest ally, right? Like, we are their people as well. And they're willing to kill every man on board that ship for what? To further an agenda, to further a political agenda. And, if you come to that conclusion, it's a very dark road to go down.
I'll tell you, Mike, when I heard about October the 7th, I thought to myself, You couldn't put a baby kitten anywhere around Israel's barriers without them knowing about it. So, do I agree with you? Absolutely. Things are caused to happen, they just don't happen. For the greater good of what? More wars, more death, more destruction.
Right. And you're called anti-Semitic for saying any of this stuff. And it's like, wait a minute, hold on. I'm criticizing a government that was willing to kill their own people. If anything, this is pro-Semitic. You're sticking up for Jews. You're saying, how could a government kill their own people, no matter what government it is? And you're called, that's blood libel. You're anti-Semitic. You're called the most horrible things in the world when all you're doing is sticking up and for your fellow man. That's all you're doing. And it's like I said, it's a very dark road to go down, that whole thought process, to think that, I mean, what is really going on? This is reality shattering stuff, especially people don't understand. I've learned a lot about the state of Israel in the last few months, and with the creation of the state of Israel, it's not like America, where there's this, it's not liberty-minded individualism. It's the state and the people were like, that was the whole formation of Israel. So for the people of Israel to think, wait, hold on, our government, which, I mean, there isn't much separation between the people and the government. It's like one and the same. Everybody is an IDF soldier if they need to be. But the government's, wait, how you're willing to sacrifice your own people? I mean, that's a reality shattering idea, so people's first reaction is vitriol, and it's understandable,
Well, yeah, absolutely. And you bring up so many good points, well thought out points. But when you talk about individuals, the USS Liberty Veterans Association has no bone to pick with the Israeli people or the Jews in America or around the world. Our beef is, our bitch is with the government. And our government, I blame our government a hell of a lot more than I blame Israel, but they were the assassins. So they have to own up to it. They have to own up to it.
So let's talk a little bit about that. So let's talk about the attack. Torpedo boats, you guys are left out there you guys are talking about that night. You're watching the walls of the ship that aren't meant to hold back the weight of the sea, and you're seeing them flexing and like bowing inwards, and the whole thing could give way at any moment. You guys are shoring it up with pieces of wood and shit.
Yep.
So I mean, that I can't imagine how long that night was. And then when you finally when you finally see ships coming to your rescue, you're told to sail to where was it? It wasn't the closest place.
Well, we could have went into Crete, but they sent us to Malta, 1,000 miles away from where we were at, where we were attacked. Probably hoping we'd sink on the way. And they'd still got by with it. Well, sink or not, they got by with it. And nobody should be allowed to murder Americans on the high seas and get by with it. Nobody. And nobody in our government should get by with it, because our government is so crooked and so bended knee for the Zionist state. They could care less about American servicemen serving their country and have them executed by LBJ and his government. And every government since then, every congressman, every president since then are guilty of murdering American citizens on the high seas for being quiet. They're a bunch of cowards, and they hide behind the Zionist flag rather than their own country. I'm not talking about the people of Israel. I'm talking about the Zionist flag. And that's what got us in so much trouble. And we're in trouble right now because of it. And the people in Congress are nothing but cowards. And I hope they hear this. They're cowards. Hey, listen, if we're lying, get in front of the Congress like we asked you to. You said they've been investigation. There never has been an investigation. You're liars. You're cheats. You're bought and paid for whores, as far as I'm concerned. I think our association feels the same way.
Well, I mean, you can look at everybody's campaign donations, and I mean, it's one of the things that's disgusts me so much about AIPAC is they openly brag. This is a foreign nation that's not registered as a foreign nation that openly brags about we got our candidate elected. They even say stuff like our candidate. It's like, how is it your candidate? You're not America. And they openly do this stuff, and it's so right in everyone's face, and it's just accepted. It's just a thing.
Our culture is built on that and has been that way since the end of World War II. And what happened in 1948, you know, creating a state, I had no problems with that. But what
the Palestinians did.
I know that they still are. But look at the problems with that estate has caused American lives all over the world. Listen, you think 9/11? Okay, here we go with everybody's joining up, and they're pissed off, and I don't blame them. They want to go fight for their country. Great human beings, great Americans, to fight a war they could never win. They didn't know that, and I didn't know it when I joined, but I know it now. Uh, as far as I'm concerned, uh, every war since has been fought for the benefit of the Zionist state of Israel. Uh, all of them, everything in the Middle East, Afghanistan, everything.
It's so weird how we always seem to go to war with Israel's biggest enemies, isn't it?
It is. And it keeps on happening over and over and over again. In fact, Admiral Thomas Moore, a good friend of mine, he told me one time, he says, Phil, I was requested to send some very sophisticated weaponry to Israel. And he replied, well, I can't do that without permission of the Congress. And this person told him from Israel, said, don't you worry about the Congress. You just get the ammunition and the weapons I need. And I'll be damned if that's what happened.
All right, let's backtrack a little bit. So you guys sailed to Malta, and you are now tasked with you gotta clean up the ship. They're making you guys do it. And also when you go into Malta, it wasn't you had some very high level people doing grunt jobs, and the whole scene when you guys sailed into Malta was a little weird. It wasn't normal, right?
No, it wasn't normal. It was a farce, and our people in the spy group, NSA personnel, CIA guys. Listen, they knew these guys personally. I didn't know them personally, but they're still my crewmates. but they had to go down there and recover their friends, their shipmates, body parts, uh, imaginable horror. Uh, Ron Kukla, a good friend of mine, he's a chaplain of the LVA. He was in charge of body recovery and identification. And he said it was like a jigsaw puzzle. He still has nightmares over that. He's bothered by it. And he should be. He escaped the torpedo with his life, thank God. And then he's tasked with going back and cleaning their fingers and their toes and their heads and their limbs out of the torpedo spaces. They wanted their own men to do it. Yeah, they did. Spies, because they didn't think ship's company was qualified to do it because of the secret papers down there and everything. I mean, all this stuff. But to be very honest with you, I'm glad I wasn't tasked with that. I wouldn't want to have done it.
I don't think anybody can blame you on that one. Okay, and you guys wanted to patch up the main torpedo hole and just get it seaworthy again, and then sail that bitch back into America, looking the way it is, saying, "Look what they did to us," right?
Bingo! That was our biggest hope. Fix the torpedo hole and let's take it back and show America the way it was.
And
What
they wouldn't
happened
let you.
to us? No, they patched it up, put patches all over the ship, and then painted it like it was brand new and sent us on our way.
And why do you think that
Disgusting.
was? Why do you think that was, Phil?
Well, it's part of the cover up. Well, wasn't that bad? Look at the ship. You know, Jesus, looks not that bad.
Right.
But you look at that ship as I did, and I went over almost every inch of that ship. It was
Smoked.
It was bad. And how anybody survived, I don't know, but by the grace of God is all I know.
Okay, so you sail the ship back stateside, and that's when the real cover-up begins. That's when you guys are really signs. You guys even after you realize that this is our ally, our greatest ally that did this to us, you guys still, there must have been part of you guys that were thinking, we're going to get a hero's welcome and we're going to be given medals and it's going to be talked about all over the media. I mean, this had to have been your thought process, I imagine.
Yeah, but actually the real cover-up, Michael, started at sea in the Mediterranean.
Okay.
With Admiral Isaac Kidd and Ward Boston. That's where the real damage control went into place. But yeah, we got back into port. We didn't have big fanfare or anything like that. Of course, we had our families and there to greet us. My ex-wife was there, and her mother and father-in-law, great people. I love those people so much. Millard and Leslie Arnder. But it was very subdued. You tried to show them what it was, but you really couldn't express it the way it was. And they should have brought the ship back the way it was, and they just wouldn't allow it. The cover up is so bad. Then they scrapped the ship in 1968, got rid of all evidence.
That sounds
terrible.
Sounds familiar to something that happened at the end of 2001.
Yeah.
Doesn't it?
Yeah, it does.
All that steel that got sent to China.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, you guys get back into the States and you had a talk an admiral talk to you guys, and you thought it was going to be a sort of a pep talk, if you will, and it turned out to be something completely different. How did
Yeah.
that? Who was that? Was it an admiral? Who was that again?
Admiral Isaac Kidd, but that happened several days after the attack. He came aboard our ship at sea,
Oh,
and he dressed us down then, Mike.
oh,
They didn't.
oh.
They didn't wait a second. That he came aboard there
Holy
before the
shit!
vanguard. Yeah.
I didn't. I thought this happened way after. So this is.
No,
I
no.
mean, this is fresh. This is before the bodies were cold.
Oh yeah. There was still, they just we were the bodies were below us, and he's on our ship giving us orders not to speak about it, or we'd end up in prison or worse. And everybody knew what worse was. It was death. We were gagged. We were gagged, like President Trump said. We were gagged. I'm gagged. I can't say anything about it. How could I say anything about it when a flag admiral tells me to shut the
Oh, you can
up?
say whatever you want on here, Phil. Do not censor yourself, please.
Yeah, well, that's what they did. So, under penalty of so many different fines, imprisonment, or worse, they told us to never talk about it again. And I didn't. In 42 years or so, until I read an article by my friend Stan White. He's a Master Chief. He was a CT. He was a spy, head spy, uh, along with David Lewis. But he wrote an article, and that's when I began my career. In fact, I've devoted the last 42 and a half years of my life to the USS Liberty.
So that's what sort. That was the straw that broke the camel's back to get you guys to from stop. How long were you guys silent for?
Well, I was silent for 41 and a half, 42 years, and I got divorced from my first wife, and I married my second wife, Lisa. We've been married 41 years coming this month. And I never told her I was in the military, Michael. I just, I'd forgotten about everything. I just couldn't go back there.
Well, there. So okay. So wasn't there an incident? There was like a bar or a restaurant that you used to frequent, and some weirdo started coming around asking questions and asking about you, and then he basically told you to shut up.
Well, yeah, that was in San Diego, California. My wife and I were there on a vacation, and this guy come up, sat beside me, and he says, "You're aboard the USS Liberty." I says, "Yeah," and I kind of wondered how he knew that, and he was getting a little mouthy and aggressive, and tell me this and tell me that it'd be best if you just not talk about it. And he had a big watch on his hand. He's put it in my face, and I pushed it away. I said, get that out of my face. And then he said, well, first I said, who the hell are you anyway? He's, I'm from Mossad, and I want to warn you to keep your mouth shut. My wife heard that, and she went ballistic on him. She called him every SOB, whatever, man. She got a mouthful into him.
Good woman.
Yeah, you damn right, man. She supported me every way in the world. But and then we had to have security take us up to our room. And the next day I went back down and I talked to the manager. I said, "Who is this dude?" Well, he said he's been coming in there for a couple of days. He said he was a doctor. No, he was just scoping the place out. How they knew we were there, I don't know, but I guess it could have been through a credit card transaction or whatever. I have no idea, but he was there. So Moral of the story is screw him.
Has anybody else bothered you or any of your fellow survivors from the ship since then in a similar way?
Well, they've had calls to be quiet. I can't be so specific on every incident, but yeah, they all knew that. Hey, this could be not good. But to be honest with you, Michael, I mean, what good is my life when 34 of my crewmates were murdered right before my eyes, and I don't say anything about it? What kind of human being does that make me? It makes me a piece of shit. You know, it's like, okay, some guy goes up to some other dude, you, for example, puts a gun to your head, blows your head off. I saw it, and the cops say, well, you didn't see what you saw. That's the analogy of what they did. You didn't see your lion eyes.
So on top of all of this, the Congressional Medal of Honor was given to Captain McGonigal, but the Congressional Medal of Honor is usually given at the White House. There's a big ceremony. It's a big thing. What made McGonigal's medal different?
I'm glad you asked that. Thank you, Michael. I appreciate that question. Captain McGonigal received the Medal of Honor in the Navy Yard, where, as you mentioned, it should be given at the White House by the President of the United States. It wasn't. It was given in secrecy, basically at the Navy Yard, presented by an admiral to our captain. And does that tell you anything more about the cover-up?
Damn straight.
So that's where it went, and it's been that way ever since. His citation, I don't think it says a word about Israel. I know mine doesn't. I know many others it doesn't. In fact, all of them. So they left out the word Israel. You know, in Vietnam, if you get hurt or you get awarded for something, they tell you who did it. Not with Israel. They won't put that word in there.
Well, even Captain McGonigal reached his breaking point. So if you don't mind, I want to play a quick clip. You mind if I play something from him?
No, sir. Please go ahead.
All right.
But there's a broader theory that the attack was intended to be blamed on Egypt and would therefore draw America into the war, and was carried out with the foreknowledge of certain people in Washington. The Liberty's captain had always suspected this was the case. In 1997, at Arlington Cemetery, he broke his 30-year silence.
For many years, I had wanted to believe that the attack on the Liberty was pure error. It appears to me that it was not a pure case of mistaken identity. I think that it's about time that the state of Israel and the United States government provide the crew members of the Liberty and the rest of the American people the facts of what happened and why it came about that the Liberty was attacked 30 years ago today.
Less than 2 years.
So that's it.
Yeah, I was there. I was there then. When he did that, when he said that. So that
Are
was
you shocked?
37 years. Well, yeah, I thought it was time, it was due. But I look back and I think, what kind of pressure did they put on this man? I mean, what they do to him? Uh, what they say to him? You know, was he afraid for his life? He very well could have been. Uh, but listen, he received the Medal of Honor, and I saw him in action on the bridge and controlling the ship, doing what he had to do. He deserved the Medal of Honor and more. But it took him a while to come around. Well, I got a letter from him. He says, Phil, he says, please let the USS Liberty Veterans Association, this is something I don't want to get into right now. It's too political. Well, it's always been political, but McGonnell was a great, great captain, and he trained us well, and I have the deepest respect and honor for that man.
Why until this day do so many people still not know about this?
Well, the media, number one, are a spineless, crooked congressman, senators, all of them. You know, all presidents from LBJ to Biden. They don't have the balls to tell the truth. Why don't they grow a pair? You know, hey, listen, these people contact me a lot for donations and stuff. You know, I've written letters, countless letters, thousands of letters to Congress. They'll turn around and it's all bullshit. Lauren Boebert from the 3rd District of Colorado, what a clown she is. I asked her aid for help with the USS Liberty. She says, Miss Boebert, or Congressman Boebert will never, ever help the USS Liberty. Screw you. I mean, they didn't say that, screw you, but that's, well, yeah, they did say it. They told me they wouldn't help us. So screw her.
Wait, what? She said that she'll just, with no other explanation, just we will never help you?
No explanation. No, I'm not going to help you. I'm in her district. She says, I'm not going to help you. Screw you. Bernadette, I forget her last name, but that was what she told me. That was her aide. And yeah, that's who you got working for in the United States government. They're all bought and paid for by the Zionist state of Israel, period.
Well, there's one. There's one champion in that group. And I don't think there's a very small chance that he might see this, but I'm going to do everything I can to get this in front of him. He follows me, but he follows a lot of people, Thomas Massey. And if there's anybody in Congress that AIPAC cannot stand, they put a lot of money to try and get him primaried. And they put a lot of money up against him during his primary. Failed miserably because Thomas Massey is the most principled man in government, if you ask me. And if there's any chance of getting you before Congress and getting, I don't have my hopes up for any sort of serious investigation into this, but the world needs to know about this. And I'm just some tiny show, and you going on Jimmy Dore 2 days ago was huge. Like that was gigantic. That's I can't believe the Jocko episode didn't do more. It's like, and how had I not seen the Jocko episode? I watched tons of his shows, and yeah, I just never heard about this. And there's so many people that have never heard about this. And I mean, in a way, October 7th was Israel's biggest mistake. I never would have started looking into this. You know what, Phil? My dad has been saying the same thing since I was a little kid. And now I hear tons of people my dad's age saying the exact same phrase to me. The first time I asked my dad about the whole Israel-Palestine situation, this had to have been this. I think this was during the first Gulf War. I was a little kid. I was like 8 or 9. Why the hell 8 or 9 me was asking about Israel and Palestine back then? I couldn't tell you. But for some reason, I asked my dad, and I remember my dad very vividly saying, son, buddy, if Palestine put down their weapons, there would be peace, and if the Israelis put down their weapons, it would be a slaughter. And for decades, I just assumed that to be true. I just assumed that would be the case. And now we're seeing what, many people would argue is a genocide taking place in Gaza. And October 7th really got a lot of people's eyes on this whole situation. And I never knew about AIPAC. I never wanted to look at any of this, Phil. I never wanted to. The power of being called an anti-Semite and a Jew hater is, nobody wants to be called that, but it's lost its steam when you simply ask questions about certain things and you are immediately called an anti-Semite. October 7th really opened a lot of people's eyes.
Well, Michael, it should open a lot of people's eyes, but it's really not your fault or anybody's fault that they don't know a lot of research or a lot of things that's happened that has been hidden. And the USS Liberty is coming up over and over again because of what's really going on in the world today in the social media. Like, I'll tell you what, I don't care how big an audience you have or how many people follow you. You're just as important as Jocko, as Jimmy, as anybody, because you seek the truth. Are you out to destroy anybody? I don't think so. I'm not out either. I don't want to destroy people, but the truth has to be told. If a republic will fall if that doesn't happen. The truth matters. It's got to matter in this case. The USS Liberty survivors are the biggest whistleblowers on this planet right now, but nobody wants to listen to us, especially this crooked Congress of ours. They get on bended knees to send billions of dollars all over the world, but they won't give us 5 minutes of their time to listen to our story of facts and compassion and love for our country. That's what this is about, is love of country. We love our country more than you could ever imagine. You think I'd be doing this for 42 freaking years if I didn't give a shit? I give a shit about the men that died that day. They didn't have a shot at life, man. They were damn near my age, 18, 20, up to 40. What'd they get? A watery grave in the Eastern Mediterranean by courtesy of our own government and the Zionist state of Israel. Now, that should piss the whole world off, especially in America. They should learn that. We're not liars. We're trying to help you, man. We're trying to tell you the truth. And I said, I hate that thing, man. It's like, sound like Biden. But no, I mean that. I'm sorry, man. I do. But
I love it.
But,
you don't sound like Biden at all. You can formulate a sentence. And you're
okay.
coherent.
Thank you.
You can probably walk upstairs too.
Oh yeah, I can. It just depends. But no, I appreciate that, Michael. But no, that's the way it is, and that's the way the world goes. But I'll tell you, your show is as important as anybody. So, we got to get the word out, and this is a conduit to the world. Your show is a conduit to the world. With this media the way we have it right now, you guys are a godsend. And it's an honor to be on your show. I really appreciate it, and I'll never forget it. Thank you.
No, Phil, I need to be thanking you. Everybody needs to be thanking you. And you are a hero. And not just for what you went through that day, but for 40 years, just screaming from the heavens that this This is a wrong that needs to be made right. And I think if we're going to have any sort of action plan, I mean, everybody that's watching, everybody in the chat, if there's any way we can get this in front of Massey and Phil, we got to get you on Rogan. We got to get you on Joe Rogan's show. We got to get you on Part of the Problem with Dave Smith. We've got to get you on Clint Russell's show. Joe Rogan. I mean, that's everybody wants to get on Rogan. He's impossible to get a hold of, but I mean, that is really the way he does long form interviews and how obviously the reach that he has. But I mean, I feel he would love you. Joe Rogan would love talking with you. And I don't know, maybe he doesn't, if he knew you existed, if he knew this whole, I don't know if he knows about the story. I don't know how much he knows about the story, but I think that needs to be the plan of action. Get you on as many shows that are way bigger than mine, even if they're not, but get you as many interviews as possible and get you in front of Thomas Massey. The world needs to know, Phil.
Well, thank you. And listen, man, here I go again, Joe Biden, man. But
just don't sniff my hair, Phil.
Yeah, no kidding. No, it's a blessing. Anything you guys can do out there to support our cause, and at least we're all in this together for justice, not just for the USS Liberty, but America. And that's our whole goal. We never want this to repeat and have people in our judiciary, our military, our senior branch of governments, or any president since LBJ to now to ignore us. Because if they're ignoring us, they're ignoring the people that died on D-Day just as well. They talk a big talk, but because we got attacked by Israel, we don't matter. Because we were set up by our own government, we don't matter. We can prove it. Do any of them have any spines? I hope you're, Mr. Mast, if you're listening to this, please give us a chance to at least talk to you. You don't have to believe us, but at least talk to us. Please.
I think there's a chance that we can maybe get some clips, get him in front of his eyes. And I'm sure if he knew, he would love to talk to you. So let's try and make it happen.
Absolutely. And also call your friend Joe Rogan.
I wish I could just call Joe Rogan. And Tucker. We got to get you on Tucker. Yeah.
We've been trying to do that too on Tucker, but he has not since got back to us. But that doesn't mean he never will.
What's funny is I know somebody that might be able to get you in contact on Tucker. It's a long shot, but I was on Tucker a long time ago when he was still at Fox News, and I still have it was nothing. It was nothing. I got fired for refusing to wear a mask in 2023 on a job site, and I made a video about it, and it went viral. And Tucker Carlson's booking agent calls me. It was like, "You want to come on our show for like a 10-minute segment?" It was unbelievable, and that's how my whole thing started. That's how the show started and everything. So, I can't make any promises. I don't even know if she'll respond, but I can reach out to her and see if we can make it happen.
Yeah, well, thanks, Michael. And any show's not too small or any show's not too big. The USS Liberty veterans are there to be heard. We'll do anything we can to get the word out, and like you and the people and the contacts and on and on and on. Hey, man, networking is the best thing to do if people desire the truth.
Come on, man.
Shit. No shit. Yeah, come on, man. Yeah, I'm not kidding. That's the truth.
Oh,
Yeah.
well, there's somebody
For
in the
real.
chat. There's a lot of people in the chat, so I can't tell where it was. But one of you guys in the chat has a show, and they already said they want you on their show. So if any of you guys got a show in the chat, DM me. I'll put you in contact with Phil, and we'll figure it out. Yeah, just DM me. You guys just DM me on Twitter. My DMs are open, and we'll get you in contact with Phil. Phil, where can people find you? Where the Veterans Association, websites, how can people get a hold of you? How can people learn more about this? How can they help spread the word?
Yeah, thanks for asking, Michael. Go to USSLibertyVeterans.org. USSLibertyVeterans.org. You can learn about us, donate, or whatever. And listen, we're a small group, just a very small group. And our funds are limited, but we do all we can to get the word out. If you want to donate, that'd be great. I know it's a hard time out there for anybody, but it doesn't matter if you donate or not. Just keep us in your prayers and give us a note of encouragement. That's good enough for us.
All right, Phil. Well, I mean, is there anything else you'd like to cover before I let you go?
Well, not really, man. But I'm not kidding.
Enough said. Well, don't just click out of this when I end the stream, because I want to talk to you a little bit backstage. But I end every show. I like to end every show on a good note. This has been kind of a somber episode, so I want to end with a joke. And every show I end with a joke from the greatest book ever written, The Truth About Chuck Norris. So after I tell this joke, I'm going to end the stream, but don't click out of here. I want to talk to you for a couple minutes backstage, if that's okay. All right. So I just pick one at random, and we're going to see. It might be funny. It might not. I don't know.
I got to ask you one thing. Whose car is that?
Oh, the background. That's my 79 LeBaron.
Oh man, that's beautiful.
You'd like it.
But yeah, I love those cars. Are you
it's
kidding
a cool car.
me?
It leaks oil. It's all right. Okay. All right. Chuck Norris joke of the evening, and we'll get out of here. Everybody in the chat, thanks so much for hanging out. You guys are the best. Sorry I couldn't get to you tonight. I wanted to make this all about Phil. So, all right, here it is. Chuck Norris joke of the evening. When Chuck Norris gives you the finger, he's telling you how many seconds you have left to live. And on that note, stay CaliBased.